Special thanks to Gladys as well, who introduced us and gave us this platform. Thank you so much, Gladys. And we'll jump right in. My name is Saurabh Singh. I'm a senior specialist information security at BNY Mellon, specializing in application security. Also on the call, we have our main presenter, Mustafa. I'll start off the presentation by giving you a brief overview of how we do cybersecurity at BNY. Talk about our past, our present, and our future. And then Mustafa will walk you through what we've all come to hear today, DevSecOps. About BNY, we are the oldest bank in the US. We are also the first one on the stock market, the symbol BK. And our founder is Alexander Hamilton. You probably know him from Now the Musical and the previous $10 bill. And so we've been around for a while. And 1784 about, coming up 235, 236 years here. And we've been here only because we could grow, right? Innovation to innovation, technology to technology. Mainly, we provide services to investment managers, investment services, and wealth managers all over. About 41 trillion in assets under custody, 2.2 trillion under management, and processing over 3.6 trillion daily. And some more of our businesses here. Our clients are mostly anyone from insurance companies, pension funds, sovereign nations, other investment firms, other central banks, a lot of companies. I'm sure, if we start talking about our companies, you'll realize pretty quickly that, we usually process either your money or either holding it or clearing it for you. So we're there through the entire kind of money management process here. And obviously, given the amount of money we handle, like I said, about 3.6 trillion a day, cybersecurity is of utmost importance to us. It's paramount. And, being a major financial institution, it's really important that our cybersecurity strategy is fully integrated with our clients, with our business, employing multiple layers of control to protect the security of our clients' information and technology assets. And how we do this is by, it's a team effort always, right? We first adhere to all the leading standards, whether that's ISO or NIST. And all the information we get, through most of our threat intelligence teams is, obviously through sharing and getting information from our peers, our industry clients, law enforcement, variety of public and private sources. So, we want to stay ahead of the threat landscape. And also then coming to today, we perform continuous evaluations of our vulnerabilities, our risks. We try to hunt for them as proactively we can, and then we monitor them, and then obviously we act on them, right? Making sure it doesn't happen again, but it's continuous monitoring, continuous evaluation of our vulnerabilities, and that's where kind of automation comes in. And we're always looking for the best cybersecurity talent within our organization. And and by working with providers as yourself. So, feel free to go to bnymellon.com/careers. And if you guys see anything you like, feel free to holler. Okay, we'll get you a referral. We'll get you what you need. Get you in front of the hiring managers. It's by working with great organizations like WiCyS is how we, keep up to date with the great talent out there. So definitely look up bnymellon.com/careers. And here is a real screenshot of something what we call as the C-Talk. It is present right next to the Oculus. That's where we are in New York in 240 Greenwich. And we call this the Cyber Technology and Operations Center. This is kind of like our Cyber Fusion Center, if you will, where, these are real time, where we monitor real time our threats, our best assets, and, we get everyone together, right? We want our technology team to be there. We want our cyber team to be there and our operations experts. That way, when the proverbial something hits the fan, we're there first to respond, and then before our clients, right? Our main thing is we want to find issues before our clients. And for us, our mantra is always up and running isn't optional. It's a promise to our customers. So that's something we always go by. And that's basically what DevSecOps is also about. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to my good friend and great mentor and amazing team leader, Mustafa Rahman. Over to you, Mustafa.
Thank you, Saurabh. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening if anyone joining from EMEA. Today, I'll be talking about DevSecOps, and just to you know that I am part of the same team as Saurabh Singh, and we are part of the application security, and globally, I'm the head of DevSecOps Automation. I was part of the DevOps, and a few years back, I moved into the cybersecurity to do the DevSecOps. So, which will be a wonderful topic, and it's pretty, great topic to talk about. As things are progressing and technology is improving, the hackers, adversaries are getting sophisticated when they attack, all the companies around the world. So, I will be talking about DevSecOps, and then it's basically the techniques that I'll be sharing. What are the techniques that we used to implement DevSecOps in BNI Mellon? And before I, talk about DevSecOps, it's kind of mindset. Okay, you all familiar, and I saw in the chat that some of you part of the DevOps, some of you part of the cybersecurity. The challenge, right? It's always a challenge between development and security. Development want to get things done faster. On the other hand, security wanted to make sure that we do things right. And there is a reason for that. The why security want us to do things right. I was looking at an article the other day. 3.5 billion people's personal data was stolen, and it's scary. How things are going. So it is very important for us to understand that what are the techniques that we can implement in our company to protect our critical infrastructure, to protect our applications. So within cybersecurity, DevSecOps is one area. Okay, there is a infrastructure security, there is a network security, and DevSecOps is one area, but this is a very core area because everything happens from the development. How they are developing code. So the bottom line is everyone is responsible for the security at our professional life or personal life. Okay, and imagine that you are at the grocery store, okay, and you are paying the bill. Now, before you start punching the PIN number, obviously you look it around, and then you make sure that no one is looking at it. So what that means, we all are alerted, for the security. We know how to protect our personal assets and personal data. Same way at the professional capacity, no matter what role we play, whether we are at the we are part of the development group doing the coding, or the next slide, obviously we're going to have that okay, whether we are part of the development groups or part of the security, or even part of the operations, doing monitoring or doing the update on the infrastructure or the OS update. We all are responsible for the security. We don't have to be part of the security to act as a security officer. Okay, so this is the mindset that DevSecOps want us to believe in. Okay. Now, there is a key point here that whenever security comes in, the development team thinks that we are slowing them down, but we are not slowing them down. And this is why the DevSecOps automation come in place, that we want developers, the development team, to do the continuous integration, continuous delivery at the speed that they would like to do. But at the same time, we would like to make sure that we get the security scan done, and there is no loophole in our code. And just another example that I just wanted to talk about is, imagine you are at the turnpike, the highway, there are toll booths. So do you want to stay on the traffic and get a ticket and then go to another tool booth and pay the fee, or you would like to use this easy pass in your car and just cruising through the tool booth? I always do that, and we all, I believe that we all do the same thing. We do not want to stay on the traffic. So that's the bottom line is, how can we enable developers so that way they can continue to do what they are doing, at the same time keep the security in check? Now, there are a few key elements that DevSecOps introduce. The one is, we don't wait to run the security test at the end, like at QA or production. We wanted to run the security test at the beginning of the development lifecycle. And that's how DevSecOps pushes us to start from the beginning. Okay, so that's the huge, the key element. And by doing so, we are getting continuous feedback as developers checking in their code and scanning their source code. They're getting the feedback and they're fixing it right on their IDE. And how can you do this? By implementing automation. And more automation we implement, it allows us to run more and more scans. And you will see the next slide that there was a study done by one of the famous security vendor, that if you scan your applications once in a month, it takes 68 days to mitigate all the vulnerabilities. But if you scan daily, it takes 19 days. You can't wait for 19 days to mitigate your vulnerabilities, right? So imagine if the developers, scan happens when developers check in their code, the mitigation will happen like within few hours. So the bottom line here is, enable more scanning, which will result in more vulnerability mitigation. Okay. You are on mute, Saurabh.
Yeah, time for a quick knowledge check here. Like I said, we like to keep things engaged, and I'm gonna also take part in this. So we'll let some people answer the question, but what are the key elements of DevSecOps? The options are on your screen, would be as all of the above. So go ahead and answer that. Yeah, Mustafa, while we're waiting for this, we got an interesting question from Jigyasa. Apologies if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly. Can we define the role of QA in DevSecOps at this stage?
It can be. Remember, QA comes at the same time. So, when the developers, when you think about DevOps, right? And you think about the pipeline, first you want to make sure that your code quality is correct. Okay, and then after the code quality, it goes to the unit testing, and then after the unit testing, it does the QA, quality assurance testing. And this is all happens before you deploy the artifacts into the repository. So you want to get this done before you start scanning your artifacts. So yes, the QA should be part of the DevSecOps pipeline.
Hope that answers your question, Jigyasa.
I don't know if I can speak during the presentation, but
oh no, go ahead.
All right, so usually unit test is what developers take up, and the solutions that we are talking about, having some tools integrated with IDE for code coverage and those kind of checks. It is also on the devs individual instances. How exactly will QA get involved in the DevSecOps process early on? I understand the shift left concept of moving the testing more to during the dev process versus at the last minute just before the release. But I was thinking more from like early on. except for automation testing and doing security testing early on, how more can QA get involved in DevSecOps process?
Yeah, and I think, I got that. And the one what I was mentioning earlier is the automated process, right, with the pipeline. What you are mentioning is more towards how can you engage at the beginning. If you remember that every quality assurance testing, there are functional validation testing, there are non-functional validation testing, and there are some security testing that also the quality assurance engineering team does. So you are doing some of the security testing manually. And now, how can you be involved at the beginning? That is something you need to have a discussion with the dev team, with the security team, and see where you can start. And I believe that you should be part of from the requirements, like from the get-go. When threat modeling happens, the QA can be part of that as well, and provide your input, right? So you don't have to do the testing. Testing will be taken care by by the automation. What you need to input is more than that. Like, look at all the loopholes and look at bigger picture.
Look at the architecture.
Look at the architecture and bigger picture, and come up with your input on that perspective. And again, this is a long questions, and it's very important questions. But I would recommend you to engage with your managers, engage with the dev and security team, and see how can you be involved. There are a lot of opportunities, and security team looking for those individuals.
Yeah, we're looking for those partnerships. And again, just to echo before we kind of leave Mustafa, or go on to the next slide, is first, great job by everyone. Looks like we are paying attention 100% on the first poll. Great to see that, Mustafa. And just to kind of bring it all together, by what Mustafa said is, most of the testing now and actual stuff is getting taken care of by the automation, right? So it's more important, like you said, let's go back to the really crux of secure designing, secure architecture. And as he said, you don't need to just be a security or developer to join. QA can join, right? So it's important, as he said, to engage with managers, engage with security peeps. We love that all the time. Anytime you can give us a little attention, we love that. So having said that, let's go on to the next slide here. And yeah, here we go.
Okay, so we have three things on this slide: the challenges, the goal, the plan. Okay, now what are the challenges that we are facing? I was part of the DevOps. Okay, I know the pain that developers go through, and I understand why the security team wants us to get things done, right? So this is why I saw the gaps, that there was a gap between development and security, and because of that, I switched my role from DevOps. I got into the cybersecurity, and we're doing the DevSecOps. Okay, so now what are the challenges? The one is, it's like a two island. Like security is one island, and then the development is another island. Now, if there is no bridge, it's going to be very difficult to do things. End of the day, if you want to secure applications, it's all about developers, that how they are coding, how they're securing when they code. They're not leaving any loopholes. So we had that difficulties, in our farm, and a lot of the companies do the same thing. The other thing is, we didn't have any central portal where there will be vulnerability visibility. So we were doing a lot of email back and forth and getting things done, but it was very difficult to track. And I personally, me, my manager and the team, and Saurabh can also tell about that before we implemented DevSecOps, we had several conversations with the dev managers, developers, even quality engineering team. We had a meeting with the architecture team, security team, and then we identified what are the gaps, okay? And then we prioritize those gaps, and we came up with that, okay, two things that we need to fix right away. Number one is we do not want to do the policing with the development team. What we want to be part of the solution. So how can we do that? Let's enable developers, okay, with automation, so that way they can just keep cruising through the toll booth, okay, and we make sure that all the source code are in good condition, okay. So this is how we decided to do that. Second thing is we wanted to do is to automate the vulnerability management lifecycle. Okay, so these are the two things. Now, when we were thinking about that, that how can we implement that, this is the DoD framework that we identified, and then we started implementing that. So I just quickly walk you through. You look at the security in the center, right? It's not after the fact that dev is done, then comes to security. No, security in the center. What that means, nothing is happening without going through the security. But if you look at the right after the plan, security is at the beginning with the threat modeling, right? So security is doing the threat modeling when you are doing the requirement analysis. Then the secure coding is happening with the build, static analysis is completing, dynamic testing is done, pen testing is happening. And then once you deploy your code, you are not relaxed. You are continuously monitoring. As Saurabh mentioned, that we have a system in place with the continuous monitoring. And also there are teams that they look at the infrastructure update. So this is a pretty good model that you can implement in your company, and you don't have to implement the whole thing. You can start with one at a time, and then get there. So this is very good thing that Department of Defense put out there for public. Now look at what did we do, right? This is where our secret sauce and you'll be glad that you are getting that information. And BNI Mellon is open with and even we have presence at the open source as well. So look at this. This is the diagram that shows that how we are protecting our application. At the same time, we are enabling developers. Now, the shield icon that you see, that's our internal orchestration layer that we built. Okay, and you can do the same thing. There are a lot of open source components, open source software out there that you can use to build this orchestration layer. Now, this orchestration layer connecting with all the security tools on one side, right? All the security tools on one side, and another side is connecting with the DevOps. And I'm going to walk you through how we are empowering developers, right? This is where you'll be the best friend. If you're in security, you'll be the best friend with the development group. Look at on the top left, this is where the Scrum and Kanban happens. And we use Jira, and everyone uses Jira. Who doesn't use Jira, right? In the, in the planet. So we use Jira to run our Agile, Scrum, or Kanban. And then we get into the development. And we do the source code management. We start, coding the stuff, and the development, they run the CI/CD pipeline, continuous integration, continuous delivery. Remember, I said we do not want to slow down the development. We want them to keep going. You can release production every hour, no problem. You keep doing that. What we are doing, and this is what they are doing, they are building the artifacts, and they're deploying the artifacts into the repository, and every company has the central repository that where they deploy. Now, what we are doing is we embed security into their pipeline. Okay, so there is one of the stage within the pipeline, and once they build that, we have a utility that pushes certain information, artifact information, into the message bus. Okay, so when I talk about message bus, it's kind of email box you can think about, like the Kafka, RabbitMQ, certain message tools, and there are a lot of message tools out there, in open source world. So it drops the package or message into the message bus, and from the orchestration layer on the middle, we have a sensor that listening 24/7. Hey, is there any message? As soon as we receive a message, we go out to the central repository on whether it is a prod artifacts or non-prod artifacts. We go out to the central repository, we download the artifacts, and then we prep the artifacts to fit into the scanning tool, because every tools are different. So you have to construct the information to fit into the different tool and run the scan. So far, successfully, we were able to run the static analysis, where we, that static analysis means we try to identify cross-site scripting. We try to identify, any SQL injection or any input loopholes out there on the code. That's taken care by the static analysis. We also integrated with the open source. And nowadays, who doesn't use open source components, right? So, but you have to make sure that you are not violating the licenses. You have to make sure that open source, all the components versions, dependencies versions are green. There is no security vulnerabilities. Remember, the Equifax, they had 2-3 months to fix their open source vulnerability. They did not do that, and this is what happened with them. So it's very scary. So if you don't act on time, you'll be in trouble. So this is the orchestration layer. We are doing static analysis and open source analysis. Now we are also connecting with the internal inventory, which is our application catalog, just to make sure that, is that application on prod, is there applications, on QA, or who are the data owner, data custodian, and all those people we are capturing for a reason, because when we publish the vulnerability into the dashboard, we do not want application A to see applications B data, okay? Because all the vulnerabilities are, the highly confidential for that particular application. So that's one. The second thing, what we are doing, as soon as the production release happen, right away we create Jira tickets, okay? And those tickets show up on the application backlog. And based on the severity and priority, app team work on those tickets for mitigation. And as soon as they resolve, all the tickets get closed. So this is the secret sauce, and this is a great framework. We are getting a lot of feedback from the development community, and you can see that how development community is empowered, right? At the same time, the AppSec CUE also empowered. So both is happening, and this is how we are bridging the gaps, or bringing them together, right? So there are two types of artifacts deployment happen. If you look at on the left, there is one development build and then the prod build. For the development build, we do not create any tickets, okay? Development build, we allow application developers to fix them using IDE plugins. So whether in Eclipse, IntelliJ, or Visual Studio, they have the capacity, the skills to identify and fix them right on the IDE, okay? Now, this is where the shift left comes, because the developers check in their code, or they're doing pull requests, scan happens, they see the vulnerabilities, they mitigate right away. So remember, I said hours, not one day, or it doesn't take 68 days. So on the other hand, when we do the release build for the production, release candidate build, we run the scan, but we understand that app team doesn't have enough time to get things mitigated, because they do the release build at the end when they're ready to go to production. So what we do, we log them in a Jira tickets, and those tickets show up on their backlogs. So that's where the empowerment comes, and that's where the efficiency, we are bringing in efficiency to the team. Okay.
All right, time for another knowledge check, everyone. How often should security scans take place to result in more vulnerabilities being fixed? Monthly, daily, yearly, or none of the above? you know, a couple minutes to answer. And then again, hey, if you have any questions so far, feel free to put it in the chat, or if you want to maybe bring one up right now, you can as well. We'll give it a minute till we let everyone answer. Okay, so I'm guessing everyone can see the results. So everyone's almost there. Daily for sure. That's what we want. We want to scan daily, almost hourly, whatever you need, right? Again, empowering developers as much as we can. And daily is the right answer. Highly engaged audience today, Mustafa. 93% people. Let's go.
Awesome. Awesome.
Love
Yep.
to see that. So
Excellent.
having said that, let's go to the next slide here. Over to you again, Mustafa.
Okay, so this slide, before I walk you through this slide, I just wanted to step back. Remember, I said two important things that we wanted to do. Number one, we wanted to enable developers so that way they don't have to slow down for the security scanning. And number two, we built a portal, an automated entire security vulnerability lifecycle within a single tool. So that way we don't have to go back and forth with the email and no PDF. And this is where the vulnerability lifecycle management automation, that what we did. So we just wanted to touch on that the lifecycle that you see, and we all are familiar with the lifecycle. We wanted to automate that within a single tool. We look at many different tools, and the easiest and the large uses tool in BNI Mellon that we found that the Jira would be a good thing. And again, the reason we picked Jira, because all the applications team using Jira to run their Scrum or Agile project management. So that also shows that we are at the service of developers. Okay, from the security, we are at the service of the development. So what we did, we used REST API automation. We used custom utility, and then some of the security plugins. So there are a lot of security tools that we use internally. We had a discussion with them, and they created plugin for us, so that way when scan completes, automatically they show up on the people's backlog or on the application's backlog. Okay. So now, all the good stuff that we went over, right? Now it wasn't easy. There were challenges that we faced. There were a lot of collaboration, the data normalization, the scope changes, the API limitation, all these challenges that we faced. It was very difficult, but we got through them. The reason we wanted to share with you, so when you plan for this, you can keep in mind and have your mitigation plan around it. First one on the line is the API limitation. We wanted to make it seamless for the developers, right? So, and we planned that, okay, can we grab latest artifacts from the repository and start scanning? And we couldn't do that because there was a limitation on the repository that we use. So we had to build an utility to capture some of the artifacts, coordinates, information. Sorry, I'm getting too technical here. From the development projects. So there is a environment variables, or reading out of the POM file and getting some coordinates out to the message bus, okay, where we require artifacts information. So we did that. And then we had some data normalization challenges. And there were some challenges because of the tools that we were using. So, each security tools behave different. They have the uniqueness, and we have to make sure that we bring the different data and normalize within our orchestration layer, so that way things fit in correctly. Okay, and collaboration is the big thing. You cannot get DevSecOps automation done just by the security group. You have to have a good relationship, good network with DevOps team, the applications team, the middleware, even the vendor who providing the security tools for you, and then the obviously AppSec and the operations. So there are big collaboration happen, and you have to do the same thing. What we did is a lot of the collaboration that we did using Confluence and Jira. So things were visible, and we had a RACI metrics that who is going to do what. So that helped us to get this challenge over. Now, the infrastructure is another big thing that you should be worried about. They're always, if you want to use open source components, it takes time for going through the FOSS review or your internal process that you have in place. If you want to procure anything, unless you are on cloud, Azure or GCP or AWS, then provisioning VMs is easier for you. But if you are doing it in internally, it's always takes time. So you have to keep in mind and put those time within your pipeline. Now, scope changes when you do good things and people see the value. They want you to do a lot of things, right? When we started doing that for a Maven, build, like a lot of we have a lot of Java technology, Java apps. So we did that for them, and then the Python came in, and then the Ruby folks came in and say, hey, we want to do that too. So we had to prioritize and say, okay, what are we going to do first, second, and third? At the same time, security teams see the value and they wanted to do things as well. So we managed that by using Jira, Confluence, and running at Agile 2 weeks sprint. So 2 weeks sprint, it worked great for us. Now, if you look at the output, the value that we are getting is a huge. Security analysts before, they used to do the admin work, like following up with the people, sending them the list of vulnerabilities, have them fixed and share the SLA with them, escalate to the risk manager or their manager to get things done because no response getting from the security tool. And I know Saurabh is smiling now because he was in that situation. And now if you look at after, what they're doing, they're proactively monitoring the scans, and they're helping the applications team with the mitigation. Their brain works differently now because now they wanted to help mitigate the application developers, and which is great. And that's a huge shift from admin act as a solution person in cybersecurity. Okay. Now, next if you look at the developers, what they were doing, they were spending like 2 to 3 weeks to run a single scan because there was all the manual onboarding process. They don't have to do that anymore. Now they are seeing things behind the scene. They do one-time configuration on GitLab, and that's it for life. Every time they work on new features and functionality, scan happens automatically behind the scene. They get the results, the quicker feedback loop. They are very happy now. It's bringing efficiency. They can see the efficiency. So, if you talk to our dev managers, they are very happy that we implemented DevSecOps. Now, in terms of regulator, they're much happier now because now they can see the artifacts that we deployed on prod. The same artifact gets scanned by the security tools. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, there is a visibility. What are the outstanding vulnerabilities that we have based on the applications? You can search, and everyone has access. From the regulatory, they have access across the board, but from the application, they only have visibility to their applications. So in terms of regulator, they're happy, and we are keeping track of these differences of artifact using the hash value. Okay. And obviously, this is one-stop shop. Everyone is working on a single portal. Everyone has a simple workflow that we built. Things are happening. Yeah, there are false positive. We see the false positive. And we also provided app team with the button. Then if they see false positive, they click the button, it triggers alert to the security team. We review all these false positive and then we close them if it is a false positive. So it's much automated way to handle the vulnerabilities. If we cannot get things done in this release, the development is getting done on their next release. So we are seeing the significant improvement overall process. Okay, here is another time knowledge check.
Another knowledge check, our final one. Thank you for being a great audience so far. All right, so I'll just read the question out loud. What are the advantages of DevSecOps? Ensure security is built into apps and is present during every stage of the SDLC. Reduce cost of compromise. Ensure security decisions and actions are implemented to match speed of development and operations, and all of the above. All right, I'm going to put my answer in here. And again, great job so far, Mustafa. You get a little break in between before we kind of take you guys home. But hey, someone in the chat's like, you took it easy on us. But, I think the whole point of these questions were, we didn't want to trick anyone. We didn't want to, one up anyone. We just wanted to make sure you took the core concepts away and, and use our open architecture for that purpose, right? And great thing, we have an engaged audience. Like I said, Mustafa, 100% all of the above. Love to see that.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome. I think this is good. This is one of the great audience that so far I have, presented my DevSecOps automation. So
I have to agree. That's why we love, hey, women in cybersecurity always show up.
Exactly. So that's good. Yeah, I'm father of two girls as well. So
there you go, awesome. Girl dad.
Yeah. Okay, so again, what did we learn, right? I know I have like DevSecOps is a new unicorn who everyone wants to ride on. That is true, and there is a reason behind that, and it's providing value, right? As I said, this is the only way. Or the great way to protect your application. This is the great way to change the mindset of the people within your company, that everyone is responsible for the security. Security, is not just for the cybersecurity folks. And to act as a security officer, you don't have to be part of the cybersecurity. Okay, so this is everyone responsibility. And if we do that, it enables, if we implement the DevSecOps in our company, it will enable shift left, continuous feedback loop, automated security, and then the more important is gonna minimize the gaps and establish the bridge between security and the dev organization. So, and even operations, right? So this is a huge benefit by doing the DevSecOps implementation. And if you can utilize a central tracking system, whether Jira or any other tool, I think you can do that. You need to tweak a little bit, but it is awesome. So far I have been talking to many of our developers. They are happy, and I'm giving them AOL within our company. There is a recognition that you can do. So if I see someone is doing good job, I'm sending them the AOL award, so which is kind of encourage for them to keep doing the mitigation during the development lifecycle. And all about, this is all about people, process, and technology. How can you make it together? And that is what we are looking for. So I hope you all enjoy the talk and took the tools that we shared with you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that, Mustafa. And again, guys, our information's right on the screen here. Feel free to add us on Twitter, follow us on Twitter rather, add us on LinkedIn for sure. Definitely more preference to LinkedIn, I have to say. But if you guys have any questions, feel free at this point, right? Feel free to jump in the conversation. If you feel a little shy, put it in the chat. If not, unmute yourselves and we can, answer some questions for you right now. Oh, great. We got a number of questions actually. Okay, I'll start going off. I'll start reading this off, Mustafa, and if you want to jump in, you can, but if I kind of say something wrong here. All right, we have, how large is BNY software development team? Is it all in-house or outsourced? I think it's kind of both. And I think, Mustafa, we have about what, 5,000 people in technology?
And it's more than that. So yeah, it's more than that. And then from the development community. So we have a presence in internal, external. When I say external, we have presence in GCP, we have presence in Azure, we have presence in AWS. Most of the time that what I see, some of the applications, they have they use the cloud services as their backup. Okay, so we have a lot of external, internal, and from the development standpoint, I think Saurabh, you're right, it's around 5K plus.
Around 5K, yeah, we have definitely at least 5K,
yeah.
5K to 6K developers themselves. But then if you kind of take in the larger technology community in general, it'll go up to like 12,000 people.
Yes.
If you include everyone. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, here's an interesting one. Is BNY IT centralized? Any shadow IT issues? I think we are centralized, but shadow IT issues. What do you think?
No, I think it's always a chicken and egg situation. Like federated versus centralized, right? I have seen in the past that it's all depends on what works for you at this moment, right? You don't want to. It's right now. It's raining outside. Do you need an umbrella, right? Yes. So I think this is all about the situation at the time or that you are in the company, and whether you are part of the senior management or mid-level management, or you are individual contributor. Is all about how to tackle the presence problem, and at the same time look at 5 years down the line, like from the strategic perspective, what is the best solution you can implement, maybe short term and long term.
Yeah, next question is definitely for me. Do you require your software developer to have any secure coding knowledge or background? Does BNY train them on secure coding practices once they're onboarded? Answer is a resounding yes. I run the secure training program for us over there. So yeah, no, we are very particular about training our developers, each and one of them. And we're required that by regulators too. Like a lot of regulators ask that. It's not enough for us just to, show that we have provided a training. We take the next step to also make sure everyone is trained. And we've recently rolled out a great new tool, Secure Code Warrior. You can check that out. Bringing endorsement to those guys for sure. And had massive success with that. Just today we were seeing that a number of vulnerabilities just again being remediated from our DevSecOps process. And then because what's going to happen at the end of DevSecOps, right, is the developer is going to see that, okay, he has certain issues he needs to remediate. And that's when the question comes up, okay, how do I remediate that? That's when obviously the training that we give them, that's when that comes into play. That's how our conversation started between an engineer, like security engineer like myself and our team and them. And that's how we improve our training. That's why we like DevSecOps, right? We want more questions like that because in the end, it's all about remediation, right? That's how you are reducing the risk to your organization. Mustafa, this is an interesting one to you because I don't know if there's a time frame to it. How long does it take to transition from DevOps to DevSecOps?
Yeah, it's all about how many resources do you have, and then how cooperative your development group or operations, and then security tools, and it's I would say if you start your plan, right, and come up with some kind of proposal, based on what I initially started, you can get this completed within a year. it shouldn't take more than a year. Yeah, because it's all about coming up with a proposal, working piece by piece. And again, the big thing to remember, we want to do the small pieces at a time, right? We cannot do the big piece. So this is what the Agile Manifesto is: chop it up and work on a small chunk. And then once you chop it up and work on a small chunk and prioritize what is the first chunk you want to work on, you'll be surprised how much thing you can deliver and how much thing you can achieve within few months and few weeks. So I would say, start the conversation with your manager, like start the conversation with your coworkers and see how can we enable DevSecOps in the firm. Yep.
Yeah, definitely, like Mustafa said, look for those small wins, right? Look for the small wins, look for your champions inside, and kind of go from there. I'll take this last one. Does BNY have a bug bounty program? Answer is kind of yes and no. It's where we don't have a formal bug bounty program, as in the sense like through HackerOne or Bugcrowd, not yet at least. But if you do find something, and you reach out to someone at BNY, they're on our website, who you can reach out to, or you can reach out to Mustafa and I now. And our CISO, and obviously if we then review it and determine that it is indeed a bug worth, rewarding people for giving you a bounty, our CISO gets in that discretion, and he has the power to let us know how much he needs to give you. But yeah, so answer is kind of yes and no, not yet, not formal bug bounty program. But if you do find something and you reach out to someone at BNY and get that informed, you will get some recognition for sure. Okay. We found another one. Okay. Do you use any tool to centrally manage HCI at BNY? You mentioned validating security on infrastructure that's on-prem takes longer than what's positioned in cloud. If you use anything like Nutanix, how do you incorporate it as part of your DevSecOps process? So I think it's basically like about adding tools here.
Yeah. So basically, we have centrally application catalog database where all the applications in the bank logged and with all the details information. So this is where our orchestration layer connected with that application catalog, so we know which application is PII and what are the categories, is it PBS application or not. So there are certain way we connect that real time, and we look at the applications and you can view the results at the same time, based on the priority services. So yeah, centrally we do have application catalog that manage all the good information. Yep.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And also, you see the advantage of having a pipeline, right? As Mustafa did, and as we do now at BNY, the advantage is we now get to plug and play different security tools, right? So not only like we already have our static and we have open source. In the future, we can get some dynamics. Maybe we can integrate Burp in, we can integrate Zap in, depending on how we choose, right? And that could also include like container scanning, IAC. We can do a lot with it if we need to. But again, as Mustafa said, it's small chunks, right? We follow agile, do it in small chunks and see what we need to. And another question that we got is, I guess this is more for containers. What are you using for security guidelines? Like, the CIS benchmark, yep, and particularly interested in container guidelines. I mean, we can actually reach out to you later and actually tell you particularly what that is, because that is a little larger conversation. But yes, the CIS benchmark for sure, NIST also. But definitely add us on LinkedIn, and we'll send you over our details for that, because that is a very interesting conversation to have there. And looks like with that, we are exactly on time here. And thanks again, everyone, for joining. Thank you for our wonderful hosts, Megan, Veronica, the WiCyS team, WiCyS Around the World team. You've been great. This has been great so far for us, for sure.